Recently has been a slow part of the year for gaming. There are some big releases coming up: Borderlands 3, Gears 5, Jedi Fallen Order, The Outer Worlds, etc., but the bulk of major releases skip the middle part of the year and align with the inevitable holiday buying cycle somewhere around September to November. This cycle is not new, it happens pretty much every year. Early on, around February to March, there are a lot of releases, and then during summer, it slows down until autumn. I've been asked a number of times why a lot of the recent topics are not game reviews or specific game-focused videos, and the answer is because we are right in the middle of the off-season, so I wanted to expand the coverage and focus on other subjects until things really heat up in a couple of months. To continue that for the time being, I want to discuss the evolution of clickbait. Now, I will primarily focus on the presence of clickbait in gaming, but this is a progression that is undeniably present across almost the entire scope of the internet, so while the primary focus is limited, the concept is not. You've all seen what clickbait really is, and sometimes it's worse than others. You can have two identical videos about the same subject, one called The Best Ways to Farm for Money in Any Given Game, and the other called Omega Best Hype Money Method for Millions of Millions per Hour Glitch Exploit. Of course, I'm being slightly hyperbolic here, but sadly not all that much. A great example is Destiny 2. I don't really cover the game all that much right now, but I tremendously respect Bungie's efforts to bring cross-save to the players and also make sections of the game free to play. I think that the game is in a great place from my limited understanding, and there are a lot of positives regarding the game's current state, but the content creation is a perfect example of clickbait infestation. Now, full disclosure here, at launch I covered Destiny 2, and to this very day, some of the most popular videos in terms of viewership on this channel were guides for that game. An exotic tier list I did received 1 point something million views, which is quite high for my content. But even though it might lend itself well to the argument of hypocrisy, it's still one of the best examples we can look at of late-stage clickbait in the YouTube ecosystem. If we merely type Destiny 2 exploit into the search bar, here is what comes up. It's not every single video, but there are quite a few titles here that showcase the concept. Destiny 2 AFK item farm exploit, good for tributes and bad juju catalyst. And then there's Destiny 2 new heroic menagerie cheese, another gauntlet exploit. There's another one, Destiny 2 Tribute Hall exploit, free tributes, exotic emotes, and bad juju catalyst, exclamation point. And then lastly, Destiny 2 new unlimited engram farm, must see. These videos have a few things in common. 1, they are all caps. 2, they have flashy thumbnails. And 3, they often feature whatever the newest, most popular item or theme is, such as, in this case, it would appear bad juju. Now, this isn't to rag on Destiny creators or insinuate by any stretch that I have not also done these exact same things to increase click-through rate and boost viewership. But today, I want to examine why clickbait is a rampant, infectious problem on YouTube, as well as discuss why it is only going to progressively get worse over time. In the early stages of YouTube, clickbait was not really present, at least not like it is now. There were click trolls, such as the famous Rick Roll, which is more of a bait and switch than a clickbait, but when comparing old format videos and the content that was produced even just a few years ago to what is considered normal now, it is a vastly different landscape. The biggest reason why clickbait exists is because of a front-loaded advertisement format combined with a compound algorithm that rewards two very deliberate metrics. The advertising format is important because it means a large number of users will see a pre-roll ad before they are even allowed to watch the video. To clarify, this means they are served an advertisement that rewards the person that posted the video with revenue before seeing the video, before knowing if it is even what they wanted to see, if it is helpful, or what it contains. Moving on to the prioritized metrics, the two algorithmic factors that YouTube internally monitors with a heavy emphasis are click-through rate and watch time. This is why you will see a lot of YouTubers, including myself I might add, stretch a video to over 10 minutes. There are actually a number of reasons, but the largest is because average watch time is factored into the algorithm's determination of how worthy your video is of being recommended to potential viewers. Another benefit is the ability to slot a mid-roll ad, which increases revenue if viewers end up watching through that point in the video. But there are other benefits as well. The biggest positive is that the longer a viewer watches, the more valuable YouTube thinks your video is, and the more it gets recommended. And this feeds into how YouTube itself makes money and why it's good to keep viewers watching, but that's a whole separate topic. If you have a 2-minute video and 100% of your audience watches the whole thing, that's still only an average watch time of 2 minutes. But if you have a 10-minute video with advertisements in it and only half of your audience watch for 5 minutes while the other half click onto the video and immediately leave, that's still already an average watch time of 2.5 minutes. Basically, longer videos do better typically. However, this is also a function of click-through rate, which is arguably a more important metric overall. Click-through rate is effectively how often viewers actually click your video and begin to watch. Keep in mind that they are also often served an advertisement right after that first click before getting to see the content. The higher a video's click-through rate is, the more views it is getting, and the more views it gets, the higher the watch time can go depending on how long viewers are staying. It's a compound effect. Baiting clicks leads to initial ad revenue and the potential to then earn more watch time from those same viewers, which then combines to either push the video forward in the algorithm to new heights if it does well, or kill it should it do poorly. This is what creates the problem of clickbait. In an oversaturated market where many dozens, even hundreds of videos from a huge number of creators are posted about any one single topic, especially in gaming, competition is fierce and it becomes necessary to differentiate your content and pull more eyes to it if you want to grow. There are exceptions to this. If a creator has privileged information, an inside story, or some kind of exclusive concept, then they no longer have to fight with their peers for engagement, and as a result, that type of video is often wildly popular. But in gaming especially, competition is very active. The majority of gaming content covers publicly available news. At conventions, some channels get temporary insider information, but by and large, gaming coverage is a reactionary thing based on the newest high-profile title and the desires of the audience who are currently playing it. Because of this, there will be an oversaturation of similar titles, and as a result of that, those titles and thumbnails must be somehow embellished. An abstract comparison would be a buy and sell peer-to-peer driven economy. Something like cryptocurrency is a decent example because the buying or selling point is typically a single price that is driven up or down based on demand. If the majority of users want to sell and they want to sell immediately as well, they need to slot their offer into the front of the queue, lowering the price ever so slightly so their order is the first filled. Now imagine if there are thousands of people that want to do this constantly, and instead of buying pressure, this is a one-way driven economy. In truth, a viewer's time is effectively currency. They spend their time to buy your content and consume it. So this one-way video economy is the creators selling their material and the viewers buying that material. But there is no reverse buying pressure that drives the price back up again. The result, in a very roundabout way, bear with me, is that creators are attempting to slot their content into that lowest possible price point by incrementally changing it to be the most visually appealing or the most urgent, and as that trend progressed over time, we have seen titles go from normal sentences to each beginning letter capitalized, to whole words capitalized, to an entire screaming caps lock rant. The thumbnails have started to get more and more saturated with heavier editing. People start to add arrows in and circles and shocked faces, and the list goes on. What started as a relatively calm video browsing format has now, by competitive necessity, degraded into a shouting match with the loudest possible videos, both in terms of title and visuals, being rewarded with immediate ad revenue and the potential to garner momentum within the algorithm and excel to increasing heights of exposure. There have also been smaller individual instances of clickbait trends, such as when it became normal to add an extremely pretty woman to the thumbnail of even totally unrelated concepts. That was a trend that was socially rejected, by the way, and has since died down. But just because the tactic is changing, the consistent need to shift the goalpost and get your content noticed from a creator's perspective is an ultimate truth, especially as the number of YouTubers or Twitch streamers or creators in general increases at a rate higher than it ever has before. All this makes no mention of the spiral constructed for vloggers and other real-world focused creators. The same level of progressive incremental changes are in full effect for those that cover their own daily lives. What works one day and is an exciting trip to another country, for example, has to get just a bit more exciting, with a title that is a bit more catchy, and a thumbnail to match. So they go skydiving, or they play pranks, or whatever it may be. But that trend only moves one way, because after doing something that sets a new all-time high in terms of viewer engagement and interest, creators often feel an oppressive need, backed by audience metrics, to go a step further or risk losing huge amounts of audience appeal and engagement. This leads to unhealthy tactics, risky situations, and a downward slide in the platform's overall health. Not all creators are like this, however. It is a daunting thing watching your channel statistics rapidly decline when not pushing the trend further, but some creators overcome that or are never bothered by it in the first place and develop a healthy relationship with their audience that lets them pursue what they love without risk or fear of failing to provide increasingly interesting entertainment. But the sad truth is that a lot of creators do not strike that healthy balance and instead are wrapped up in the increasingly frantic struggle to keep up with the pace, which is unfortunately spinning out of control right now. This is especially true of newer creators looking to break into their chosen market, and the more this phenomenon pushes ahead, the more intense it becomes, and the more intense it becomes, the faster it progresses even further. The same trend is visible in media as well. Gaming media has taken the route of rage bait and political themes to goad viewers into clicking. They have largely abandoned what may or may not be true or high quality and gone with the route of sensationalism and anger instigation. Traditional legacy media often leads their segments with gory or shocking footage and stories, and the list is long of how clickbait, driven by front-loaded advertising dollars, is progressively changing the online environment we all inhabit. I can't say for sure what should or even could be done about this. It's a fairly established trend, but discussing the subject has the benefit of making at least a few people aware, though I doubt this video will be recommended in the YouTube algorithm. It might make a few people more cognizant of their own contribution, and even if they still must participate in the trend, which is very possible, consciously thinking about how and why is a beneficial step. But that's it for today. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. Rather than relying on YouTube's advertising for some of the exact same reasons I just talked about right now, the goal is to transition to Patreon. So if you would like to support the content, check that out. It is linked down below, also merch, but don't worry about it too much because the content will persist. However, I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.